Keep it locked. We'll be right back for truth.
I just got convicted. I will be reprimanded, cause I got caught red-handed. They say I is a whining criminal. They want me be corrected, or at the least restricted, but I just can't resist the carnival. And I'm whining with my hands in the air. Police tell me stop, but I just don't care. I'm surrounded and I ain't got no fear. You must catch me if you want, carry me away. I was so confused with this life I choose to live. Let them talk, it is what it is. I was so confused with this life I choose to live. Let them talk, it is what it is. See when I get there, look on the highway, trouble to hold me, can't hold me. See when I get there, look on the highway, trouble to hold me.
Keep it locked. We'll be right back for truth.
The verdict is accepted. I won't even object it. Just hoping that the sentence made him man. If not, they will regret it. Go back way like a bandit, cause I can't do it all. The back and down. And I'm whining with my hands in the air. Police tell me stop, but I just don't care. I'm surrounded and I ain't got no fear. You must catch me if you want, carry me away. I was so confused with this life I choose to live. Let them talk, it is what it is. I was so confused.
Welcome again. It's Wednesday, and we are back here, back on this beautiful journey of for truthness. And ever since we booked this date, I've been counting down this time for such a long time, and I'm really excited to chop it up and talk with the one and only Lisa Michelle, and she's in the house tonight, and it's only a matter of time before she comes out and bless this platform that we have, and I'm really honored to be here speaking with the one and only. Um, again, the love month is still going. So those of you who are out there who are getting your love together and trying to find love or new love, for all the ones out there, all cuddle up and snuggle up with your loved ones, I just want to say, look, man, I'm happy for you. And for those of you who are still trying to find love out there, I just want to say, good luck. And good luck to you all, because it's tough. Everything's covered up. You got to take that mask off somebody's face or ask them, can you please take your mask down so I can see what you look like? It's not an easy thing, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? You want to be sure, because you never know. Nothing is for certain and nothing is for sure out there. It's a beautiful thing to have life. It's a beautiful thing to be here in 2021 after going through 2020. And we just want to keep it going, man. Keep the happiness going. Excuse me. And let's do this thing. So we're gonna jump right into the thing called Dman Thoughts and get the show started, because we only have so much time and we don't want to keep Lisa Michelle waiting. So thing called Dman Thoughts for February 2021. The day is 17. So here we go. Dman Thoughts. So remember, we were told as kids to dream big and limitless. So we played as police and crooks and cowboys and Indians. And I often wonder, who was the real villains? Those were the images placed on my mind as a kid playing without time. I sped up that time, and here it is right now. And somehow those images feel blurry and eerie, and arguments from all types of groups gets weary and weary. But it's the same play. We see the same actors every day, the same script played out every year, year after year. Some people want change and others only want dollars. And I have to confess that both is good for some, but not for others. Are you tired? Is it because you are working hard? Are you not working hard because you are tired of not working? So you have adjusted your mind to a pre-existing condition? Cicely Tyson, born December 19, 1924 in Harlem, New York, died January 28, 2021 in Haarlem, Netherlands. Gone but will never be forgotten. But all of you work as if all of you work as hard as she did in pursuing your dreams and aspiration, there's no time like now. Right now is now. And just want to say, if you continue to do what you got to do, continue to work as hard as you want to work, the dreams will come true. Continue to do what you do. And let's get right into Michelle, Lisa Michelle. So before we jump right in, before she gets in here, let me introduce her properly because I just want some of you out there to know who we're dealing with. Person of importance. Uh, so Lisa Michelle, she's an actor and singer based in Toronto. She co-stars in the digital comedy series Band Ladies, Highball TV, which that's on Highball TV, sorry, which has just been nominated for a 2021 ACTRA Award for Members' Choice Assemble. And I hope I'm reading this right and she don't get on my case for this. But she also recently appeared in Star Trek short tracks, shown on CBS as Lieutenant Sarah alongside H. John Benjamin and Rosa Salazar. I hope I pronounced that properly too. You're gonna get me if I didn't. So, fun fact for the Trekkies out there: Lisa Michelle character was the first black Trill, and that's a particular humanoid species in Star Trek, in the Star Trek franchise. Uh, some of her acting credits include Black Mirror. For those of you who are familiar with Black Mirror, I love that show, and I think is awesome. We watched that quite a bit. Well, I'm still trying to watch them all. And Lisa Michelle is on Handmaid's Tale scene on CTV Hulu and a Christmas Carousel on Hallmark. So if those of you want to check that out, you can see her on a Christmas Carousel on Hallmark. She also on the Color of Love on Lifetime and other networks. And as a musical theater performer, Lisa Michelle starred in the first U.S. national tour of Godspell. Um, big things are going. And what else did she do? She was on the award-winning production of Obey Opera by Nicole Brooks, and I'm sure she's going to tell us more about that. Lisa Michelle currently serves as an elected ACTRA Toronto and National Councillor, as well as co-chair of ACTRA Toronto Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Lisa Michelle to the
Hello,
show.
hello.
Hello, Lisa Michelle.
How you doing?
I am good. I'm very happy and excited to have you on the show. Ever since we booked this uh, date with you, um, we've been really excited to have you on, and
Oh.
can't wait to hear some of the things you got to say. And I'm really excited. Every Wednesday I'm usually like kind of like excited to do the show, but
Hmm.
tonight in particular, I'm really excited to do
Oh
this.
man,
I'm really happy to have you on the show.
thank you so
First
much.
and
I'm happy to
foremost.
be asked.
Yes, yes. So first and foremost, how you been and how's your family doing?
We're great. My husband Kirk, and we have a 5-year-old daughter, and thankfully we're all great. A lot of craziness has gone on, and for some is going on, but I'm grateful that we've remained blessed and whole and healthy. So, no complaints this side.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it's been a crazy year last year, and now
Mm-hmm.
I think with countries starting to get on the same page in terms of dealing with the pandemic,
Hmm.
things are starting to feel a little bit better. Like if there's some hope, but it's still crazy out there, right?
for sure. And it's different depending on what sector you're in and like what industry you work in. Like some industries, like I'm really grateful that I'm an artist, but that I'm an artist in many different ways because some aspects of my art are still shut down. So I sing and I'm more of a live performer singer than I am a recording artist. I haven't recorded an album in years, but I usually always find myself on stage. But with the pandemic, no live theaters, no live performances. So if singing and live singing was all I did, I would be like done in terms of my main art passion right now. So I'm grateful that I'm also an actor, and that's also probably a bit even a bigger passion of mine than singing. And thankfully, that industry, although it did shut down for a little bit in the beginning, and there's still lots and lots of restrictions, but over and above, it's still open. So I've still been able to act in film, TV, movies, etc. So I'm grateful for that. But I do acknowledge that not all industries have been as lucky as we can see. Some small businesses, even big businesses, have closed, had to let people off. So I'm just thankful for whatever I can get my hands on to keep moving forward.
I'm really happy that you're still doing your thing because we have to keep seeing you on that stage. We got to keep seeing you on the screen. Uh,
Thank you from
you
your lips
know,
to God's ears.
we need faces like yours to continue to bless and brighten up these stages and bring lots of entertainment to all of us, man. You mentioned earlier about singing, and I remember the first time I heard you sing, and I was invited to see you at a show down on Queen Street by the Drake Hotel,
Oh, that was
and
some time
that
ago.
was some
Yeah,
time
that
ago,
was
but I
some
never forgot. I never forgot. And all I kept saying to myself, and I'll hold down my head a little bit now, is how um, lucky your husband must be right now.
time. Thank you. Are you hearing that? I hope he's listening. Are you hearing that?
He's a good-looking chap, and he's quite a charmer too, and he's athletic, and he got all that every man would want. But I'm saying he must be pretty lucky to have such a
Thank
lady
you.
like yourself.
That is so sweet. And you know what's funny? Thank you for saying that. What's so funny is that's how I think I won him over because I'm sure if you've been friends with him this long, the story must have come up how we met. So before I was a professional artist full time, so I've always been an artist, but before I was doing it full time, I was working in the same industry that he was in advertising, and we met at an ad agency that we were working at the same time, and I was still singing and doing all that stuff, but I was doing it on the side at that time. So I had a show and I had a little crush on him. So I was like, I should invite him to the show. But I don't know if you know would agree, but he's so hard to read. He's generally a quiet guy if you don't know him and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure. I had no idea if he was interested, but I'm like, whatever. I want him to come to a show. I invited him. He came to a show, and it was only after that that I see the light turn on, and then then I had him in the palm of my hand. But it wasn't until then. Before that, I don't know if he was paying any attention. I wasn't getting the time of day from this guy. But once he saw me on stage, then it was like, okay.
Yes, yes.
Then I had him. Something about, and I'd say that I can't even take credit for it because when I get on stage, I can totally tell you from the bottom of my heart that something else is involved, the higher power, whatever that is to you, but to me it's spirit, it's God, it's everything. Like something comes through me to help me, uses me as a vessel, and like I'm illuminated. Like I feel that it's me carrying the message or the whatever it is, but something else overtakes me. Like I'm filled with the highest vibration when I'm on stage. I'm at my best. So if you
Well, I
give me
think
a goal and I'll smash it on stage.
well, I think you're naturally good at that. And, I don't know. I just wonder because it seems to come really natural to you. I just wonder, what were you like as a kid? Did people in your family suspect that Lisa Michelle is quite a performer? Is she? We sent her to school, but is she more than just a student? Did anyone ever you know
You know, the only I wasn't one of those people who like, oh, They knew she was going to be an artist from the time she was in elementary. I don't think I had that about me. I think what they did know for sure was that I was not shy. I was really outgoing and that I like to talk a lot, which which is all still true. I'm not shy. I'm very outgoing and I like to talk a lot. And I remember, and like I always had this, which thankfully I've passed on to my daughter, this self-assuredness or like self-confidence. Like
Right.
you have to be a really negative person to get me off my center. Like as otherwise, even if you get me off my center a little bit, I'm likely to come back pretty quickly. But and I felt like I've always had that as a kid, and my daughter has that as well. Like very confident in herself, so much so that I think it was third grade, and I have five older siblings. So my
Wow.
family is a family of
Are
six
you the
kids that I
youngest?
grew up. I'm the youngest of six.
Wow.
And I remember in third grade, my dad did a parent teacher interview and he mentioned something about my other siblings. And the teacher goes, "Wait, she has other siblings?" And he goes, "Yeah, she's the youngest of five. I have five other kids at home." She couldn't believe that I was not an only child because she goes, and I don't know if that's a good thing, not because I was like spoiled in a way, but she goes, she's so like, she's not lacking for anything. Like she looks like she gets all the attention in the world and she commands all the attention in the world. So, but I feel like she didn't really understand that. That's why. Oh, hey, Carlton. I feel like that's
Yes.
why um, I was always looking for attention because I was in a house with so many people. To be heard, you had to be loud. To be to be seen, you had to be loud. Like I've always had to use my voice and stand up for myself because I was always just the little sister, the little
Did
annoying
you pass
sister.
that
So,
on to your daughter now, or is she still learning?
oh no, she's taken any good talent or gift that I have, she's multiplied it by 100 and ran with it. Like she's only 5, and that sounds like something any mom would say about their kid, but anytime anybody meets her, they're like, "Okay, I know what you mean now. Yes, you're her mom, so you have to say that stuff." But I also agree. She's full of spark, full of humor. She's the funniest kid you'd ever meet, and she's also an actor now too. Like because I
Nice,
do
very
it,
nice.
yeah, because I do it and I know how to navigate the system, and I like to think I know how to keep her safe as we go through these things. But she goes out there. She has her own agent separate from mine, and she books a lot of work. She's a regular voice on Blue's Clues and another
Oh
cartoon as
wow,
well. Like
that's big.
she's
That's big in the
she's
with the
working.
huh? That's really big with the kids. Blues Clues.
Yeah, yeah, they made a new one. It's different from the one in our day. It's a different host. The host in our day is probably up there, but yeah, she's very precocious, very.
So is she the earner of the house now? Is that what it
You
is?
know
Is
what?
that what's going on? Is she running the house?
She very well could. She's come very close. There was a time where we're like, she might be pulling in more than I am at this point.
At that point, you gotta because we in our household we had a meeting, so we was like, should we focus now on the little one because it looks like she could be onto some big things. And
Mm.
was it the same kind of conversation for you guys? Did you guys like maybe we should?
No, not quite. I'll say that we actually had to slow it down because she is so good at what she does. Because everything she auditions for, I think she would book probably 80% of it. Like her audition booking ratio is very high, so much so that now that she's a regular voice on Blue's Clues and a regular voice on another cartoon called Lucas the Spider, we had to actually tell her agents that like she can't audition for anything else anymore because she's already missing just about one day of school every week, and like that's enough. I think like for she's only 5, like that's more than enough that I wanted to take her out of school because there if it was a one-off and like a commercial here, a commercial there, but she booked 2 series leads. That's great, and it's not like she needs to work. So I'm like, so we've actually done the opposite. Like if I didn't have my own work or if Kirk didn't have his own work, um, then perhaps we would keep going because I mean, if she misses a day of senior kindergarten, they're cutting out snowflakes. It's not detrimental, um, but it is work for the parents too. I think that's what a lot of parents
It
don't
is. It
understand too.
is.
When
It
they
is.
put their kids in these things. Like if she gets an audition, like she's still only 5, so I still have to read the whole script with her and like teach her it, bring her to the audition, bring her to the callbacks. When she gets the job, bring her to the job. And if I'm bringing her to a job, that means I can't work. So then I have to take that day off, and now I'm potentially losing. And so if I didn't have my own career going on, we would maybe facilitate a bigger and faster career for her. She'd probably be the star of Hollywood right now if we didn't have our own jobs. But I'm like, rein it in, little girl. I ain't dead yet. So we got to balance out this time. There's only so many hours in a week.
Speaking of Hollywood, is Toronto fair in a sense for work? Is it a fair place for actors like yourself? Is it a place where people can say, I'm leaving Calgary, I'm going to
Oh
Toronto?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Is
And
it that
people
kind
have,
of place?
for sure. And people have been doing that for years. Like a lot of Canadian actors, they're not all from Toronto, but they all either live here now if they didn't already move to the States, like one of the two. But yes, Toronto and Vancouver are the biggest hubs.
Yes.
And I would say before, maybe even just a couple years ago, I would say those are the two biggest hubs in Canada for film and TV production and performance. But now I'd almost say that Toronto is just one of the biggest places for film and TV production, period. Like even inclusive of LA and things like that, because they were unfortunately hit as hard as they were with COVID and all of that. And because a lot of American productions shot here anyways,
Yes, that's right.
but they would often bring their American performers to cast the whole thing. So it would be good for like taxpayers' dollars in that, like, you know, they would have to buy tax credits and all this stuff to shoot here in Toronto, but it wouldn't always benefit Canadian actors because oftentimes they would bring in their American actors and shoot the whole thing with just American people, but just have the film here. But now with the pandemic, because it was like, there's so many more restrictions against people crossing borders and having to quarantine and all this stuff. Now, a lot of the productions that are shooting here that are American are hiring more Canadian performers. So I'll say that I've worked more in the last year as an actor than I have ever worked.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be working like continuous like that throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
And you guys are having like constant tests and stuff like that. How
Yeah,
does that work?
it depends on the production. So only now, and I say now as in very recently, like I think it's been 2 weeks at most, that it's an official like rule that productions now have to test everyone, I think at least weekly when they're on whether it's a TV show or a movie or whatnot. But prior to 2 weeks ago, only the productions with money could really afford to do that. Like apparently these tests are really expensive to get per person, and to do it every week, it's like it's really, really costly. Like you have to be a big budgeted production to handle it. So a lot of smaller productions weren't necessarily testing everyone all week. They might test the lead actors because they're the ones working every day. But they would only, let's say if I'm coming on as like a day player, so I'm only shooting one scene for the day or something like that, they wouldn't necessarily give me a COVID test, but they would do your COVID screener like everywhere is, like take your temperature, do you have any symptoms, yada, 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 like that sort of thing. But now it's like a rule that all productions, like they have to test everybody at least once a week. So now
That's
it's a
happening.
rule.
Oh, that's downtown Toronto, right? That's in
Yeah,
the heart of the city.
that's at least it's here in Toronto as far as I know. Yeah. I thought
Okay,
it was
I mean
Ontario,
that's
but I could be wrong.
because I see like there was a time when we were watching Netflix and these other sources of movies and you know we ran out of movies and then now
Mhm.
we're starting to see some movies pop up. We're not seeing as much people in the background and stuff like that.
Yep.
They say, oh, they made this movie last year. It says
Mhm.
2020. How could this be?
Mhm.
So, it started to play on my mind like they're still making movies out there. And
They
we watched quite
were.
a few from across the border. Well, at least they said it was across the border, but there weren't people in the background. There was like empty streets and
Yeah.
stuff like that. All
Yeah.
indications of
All
the
indications
pandemic.
of COVID, because, and that's what I mean. So thankfully, the industry was allowed to remain open, but not without a lot of restrictions in place. So like the government was like, you can still shoot films and movies and TV shows, but you can't have X amount of extras, or you can't have this many people on set. So the first people to go, unfortunately, were background performers. So then productions were like, okay, well, we'll work without that then, and we'll just pay for the lead actors or the principal actors in a given scene or whatever. And then even that was like really restricted. So like even smaller characters that may have had lines, they might have written those out altogether. Or intimate scenes were getting rewritten a lot as well. People
That's a
are
poor
like,
thing, poor
yeah,
thing.
they're like, yo, I ain't kissing nobody. So then they were like, they'd have to rewrite intimacy scenes as well. So there was a lot of maneuvering that had to be done, but at the end of the day, it was worth it to not get shut down. And some productions
Yes.
did have to shut down, like they just because the amount of restrictions and things that they had to do and PPE that they had to buy, like it could cost a large production an extra $1 million to be COVID safe. So some of them just had to shut down altogether.
Now, I know we're talking about Toronto and how busy Toronto is with the movie world. Have you ever thought about maybe perhaps moving to NYC or somewhere else?
I definitely thought, of course, I definitely had Hollywood dreams, of course. But for me, like having a family, it would have to be like I can't go there and wing it. I have to, I don't want to say wait. I hate the word wait, but in this context, but I have to allow for an opportunity that is big enough that I can if I can't move my family there, if it's not that big, that I can at least afford to be like right in my contract that or be at a status enough to be like I get to fly home every weekend and
Right,
like
right.
you'll pay for that and stuff like that. But yeah, I couldn't leave my daughter for like 6 months at a time to shoot something that's I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Now here's the twist. Now, what if they ask for your daughter to
Oh
move
well,
over
then
and have
well
that big break?
you know, no, we've almost already kind of said no to that. She was up for to audition for a series in Vancouver that would
Oh,
have her in Vancouver for 7 weeks if she got it. Like she wasn't offered the job yet. It was just like
yeah.
the opportunity to audition for it. And we thought about it for a second. Then I was just like, well, no, like because I'm not gonna stop working for 7 weeks, like kind of thing. Like I have, I have my own aspirations, and she doesn't need to work, and she doesn't even like it all the time. Like she's 5, so some days she's like, yeah, I want to act and I want to do this, and then other days you're like, oh, you have an audition, and she's like, I don't want to do that. So I'm like, she's only half-heartedly into this. It's not a career for her. I have a career, so yeah, so I guess yeah, the answer is no. Until she's old enough to be like, I really want this. This is something I'm excited about. Then yeah.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. And
Hmm.
here's an interesting question from one of the viewers, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but
I can see
can
it.
you see that?
Well, you know what's funny? It hasn't come up yet. If you believe it or not, it came up
Hey,
exactly
y'all,
once.
that's a twisted answer. What haven't come up yet? You
It
got to be
has.
careful what you say out there on the internet.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? How do you handle
He's
scenes that were?
asking about he's asking about intimacy, and you say that it hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, because it
So
very well could. What if I get like cast in a movie like The Best Man? Like, not all intimate scenes are porn.
that's right.
Every love movie you watch has like some kind of intimate scene. Uh,
You know what? I'm glad that Tyrone asked that question, but I think that was a real icebreaker to break this up and let's get really down into some real good stuff and get this show really popping.
For
Well,
real.
so I wanted this show to be so much about you tonight. I told you this when we first connected about the booking, and I was like, I want this show tonight to be all about you. I want Toronto, I want the world, I want whoever's viewing, whoever views this video on YouTube or whatever, just to see that what a talent that we got here in Toronto, and I'm really I feel really privileged just to be here with you and to
Thank
share
you.
this night with you and your family. You guys give us this time during this rough times, Um, so, I mean, we have a lot of talent here, and coming up in this city, I see a lot of talent, and sometimes not all the talent gets showcased. So, I'm very happy that you're able to at least get to this point of your life and live some of your dreams. So
Thank
that's from
you.
my heart. I just want to say that to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I receive that, and I feel really lucky and blessed all the time, and I feel like I feel like I've been granted a lot of favor because it's not it's not easy to be a professional artist in any way, shape, or form. And why I say I feel like I've been blessed with favor is because even when I've tried to quit or gone back and forth and like taken a corporate job or here and there, something or someone or events or circumstances or feelings always pushes me back on the path. It's become beyond clear to me a number of years ago that I'm like, well, okay, I get it. Like every when it gets hard, I don't get to quit. Like I'm an artist. This is what I have to make it work. Like and I used to joke and say, well, at this point, I'm too old to qualify to do anything else. So this has to work. Like I can't start anything new. I don't really
Hey,
believe that.
age is
You
just
could,
a number. You
I
know what I'm
know,
saying? Age is just a number. And guess what?
totally.
I can tell you right now, if what's his name? If Joe Biden becomes a president at his age right
You're
now
right.
of the United States of America, then hey, look, man, you know, you're not too old for
Oh
to
no, no,
pursue your dreams, right?
totally. That was my 20 something thing to say at that time. But now I know better that you can do anything at any age. So I'll rephrase that feeling to say that it's not that I'm too old to do anything else, but it's that I feel like I've invested so much time, energy, passion, love, blood, sweat, and tears into being an artist that there's no way I'm going to abandon it now. And now I know that when I have other interests, as I do, I add them to who I am, and I don't need to take away or stop being an artist at any point. I can take breaks, I can pivot, I can do whatever, which I have done as the time arises. But yeah, I'm
What was
I'm an
the
artist through and through.
what
Mhm.
was the first gig or first role that you had that made you realize you can do this, you can do this thing? What set you apart from just trying out? Say, look, I'm gonna keep doing what I do.
I'd say it was. Oh, that's tough. That's a good question. What was the role that made me realize that I could do it? I'd say after getting there's so many other people who are involved in my success. Like I always say, if I ever go down the path to winning an Oscar or a Grammy or any of those, like I'm gonna have to have a huge list of people to thank because one of the one of my earliest roles, I think it was around 2009. It was a community musical theater role in a show that I'm forgetting the name of. Oh, I don't remember the name of, but nonetheless, it was my first lead-ish role. I was one of the leads in this musical. It was at the Toronto Centre of the Arts, which is a nice theater up in North York. And I got to sing like a lot of lead songs. Like prior to that, in all these community theater shows, I was just part of the ensemble. But like this time, I got like a lot of shine, like on my own. And during rehearsals, I was like, I didn't realize that I couldn't hack it. Like I was the kind of singer where I can give you like everything like a couple times, but I've
Nice.
never had the experience of doing it in a theater realm where you have to do it every day for multiple days. And so you can't be throwing your voice out untrained and all this, or your voice will die. And that's what it was doing in rehearsals. And I was so nervous and I'm like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm like, not a one hit wonder because not like I've had a hits, but I mean like maybe I'm just like a flash in the pan. Like maybe my talent is fleeting, like because I was losing my voice and all this. But then someone in that production recommended me to this voice god, I'll say. He's like a speech pathologist, and I would have never guessed had I not met that person who identified what I was dealing with and said you should see the speech pathologist who specifies in musical performers. And I was like, or like in vocal performers, whatever. I was like, what? So I went to see this guy. He has all these different kinds of therapies, and he does like therapeutic massage on your voice. He tells you like these different kinds of unique warm-ups and all this stuff, and like all these things. And he's very much like non-surgery, like he's very much anti-surgery, that like we can fix your voice without cutting things up. And he really did, and he taught me how to maintain my voice to the point where I didn't have to see him anymore. Like I wasn't reliant on seeing him all the time. And so I'd say it was, and then sure enough, so I saw him during that rehearsal process. And then when that show was up and we had our ticket paying audience, I was killing it every night. And then I was just like, I
Nice.
can do this. And we did it for like, I don't remember how many weeks the show went on, but I was able to give a strong, solid performance every time. And I was just like, okay, like I that's when I learned that yes, I love performing and yes, I like to do it, but now I was gifted from this professional how to actually use my instrument, like how to really respect my voice as like a muscle and treat it like an athlete treats their legs and their arms. Like it's not just, oh, I'm talented and I can do this whenever. It's like not really. You might be talented, but you have to like maintain your the physical aspects of you that contribute to performance. And once I learned how to take care of that, I felt like, okay, now I can do this as a professional, not just singing at somebody's wedding here and there. Now I know how to sustain myself.
Awesome, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw that question as well at the bottom.
You would like
uh, to
about
know
the
about
role
the
of
role of faith.
decision making when it comes to accept. Oh, interesting. The role of faith. Um, I'd say it's more so a gut feeling, which I think has something to do with faith. I think our conscious it doesn't just come from nowhere. I think our conscience, sorry, doesn't just come from nowhere. I think we all have our spirits, our guides, ancestors who are like speaking to us and providing us wisdom as
Right.
we move along kind of thing. So I think if you just in general have like a bad feeling about something, you should, not to say it's always like overreact to your feelings, but you should pay attention to them and why you're having them. And I'd say that it came once when I got still, I guess I still feel early in my career. No matter how long I'm doing this, it always feels early in your career because you're
It's
always
still
going after
early.
you're always
Still
going after
early.
jobs. Yeah, as an actor, there's no end to it. But I'd say there was this one audition that I got, and it was for like a big movie. It wasn't like Tarantino directing, but it was somebody that big. I don't remember who the director was, and at that time, it was like the biggest movie that I'd be auditioning for, and
Steven
it wasn't a
Spielberg, was it?
no, it wasn't Spielberg. It was, I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was Pompeii, I want to say. I don't remember what, but it wasn't I can't remember. It wasn't a big role,
You'll
but it was a
remember. You'll
speak.
come back.
Yeah, it wasn't a big role, but it was a speaking role. And at that time, it would have been the biggest production that I would have had an opportunity to be in. But when I looked at the audition, it was, the character was a slave. And I'm like, so already I'm like, okay, let me read on. And then I'm reading for context of any kind, character background. She was so small a role that she didn't have any character really built in. The scene was like of her, she was like bathing a white woman. And if there was like grander context to this and like the story went somewhere for this character, there was none of that. It was just a scene of me bathing a white woman and like she's like telling me her story and I'm just listening like yes ma'am. And so like, I was like, oh no 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 no. I go
No
if
words
I
involved. Just kind of listening.
no, yeah, I'm like, no, I go, if this is going to be my first foray into a big Hollywood film, this is not how I want to debut for starters. And then personally, it's and I don't know if this is like a faith based thing or if it's just my own morality and ever to each their own because everybody's opinion is different about this. But now I'm like, I know for myself, I don't want to play any slave roles unless it's a story that's the people who are behind it creatively, whether they're the writer or the director or the producers, are Black people. So then I know that it's the story being told with purpose and from a vantage point that's not just as they call slavery porn. Like people just like love churning out Black movies and they're all centering around slavery and trauma and tragedy and pain. Like, and just for the sake of, you know what I mean, for them to feel
Has that
moved.
always been a thing for you? Like, have you ever like while thinking about your career as an actor, did you ever say to yourself, I'm never going to be playing one of those roles, or I don't like those type of movies? Do you like slave movies?
I don't. And again, that's why I'm like to each his own because I know a lot of Black people do. And they're like, oh, you got to watch this. And I'm just like, I am, speaking of faith and spirits, I'm very sensitive and very open. And I will take, which is what makes me a good actor. So I have to be careful also what I consume and what I watch. And I'm like, what do I get when I watch a slavery movie? Nothing. I get nothing. I get pain, I get hurt, I get angry, and it's not productive. Maybe for some people it's productive. Maybe they go home and they write an essay or a really good song or something. For me, no, it just sets me on a low vibration. It just makes me not want to engage with any of the white people I work with, who I have to navigate the world with. It doesn't set me on a forward moving path. And it's not to say that like I want to be going through the world with blinders on. Absolutely not. Like as you saw in my bio, I'm co-chair of ACTRA's
That's right.
Diversity and
That's right.
Inclusion Committee, and we do a lot of things to like illuminate Black and performers of color and all of that. Like, so that is definitely a focus. I'm all about advancement for people of color and Indigenous folk and all of that, but I don't think that always requires us to absorb traumatic experiences over and over and over again. I don't feel like that's productive. Like we know it's there. Like let white people go watch that if they want, and if they need that to know why we're angry about certain things, that's fine. But I don't need the reminder. I know already
I,
what
you know,
happened.
last week on our show, we had a. I know Tyrone has a question, but before you see it and you feel like you want to answer it, but I just want to say now, are you cool with the N word? We had this discussion last week on the show,
Hmm.
and we were like, you know, some people are cool with it, and me for one, I'm not cool with it. Like the word could be said in different ways or whatever, but I'm one of those people who I won't say that word because I think we came a long way and people died, and so
Hmm.
people don't want to be called that word. So why do I accept it? Anyways, are you cool with that word?
I personally don't use it. I think it just doesn't come out of my mouth. But I'm not also not. I can't say that I'm as opposed to it maybe as you are. Like for other people, like I feel like it's almost put it this way. I understand why. I'll say some younger people, although some older people use it. Like it's not just younger people, but
Yeah, of course.
I understand why, and I'm talking about Black folks. It's never okay in any connotation for anybody else to use it. Let me say that. but
But
I under.
since you said that, I just want to, because I don't want you to pass that point because I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, why is it cool for us to say that word? Why is it cool for us to
Well, because
call
I
each
think
other that word?
because when something is within a silo, it's just like it's like you being able to tease your brother or punch your brother or beat him up. But if somebody else were to come into your house and do that, you would defend your brother and be like, "Yo, you can't do that." I feel like it's the same sort of thing when we do something within our own community, within your own family. Hopefully, it's out of love, camaraderie, slang. But when it's from the outside in, maybe they're trying to do it out of love, camaraderie, slang, but we can't be sure because there's too much built up mistrust there. So it's just better if you just stay away from it. That's how I
That's
that's
right.
how I see it.
I think we understand the meaning. I think we understand deeply a lot of stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
when you're growing up and you're so angry that you cries.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, I believe. I believe.
Mm.
So personally, I don't use the word, but I do understand
Mhm.
lots of meaning behind it, and I understand how it's being used and so forth. Um,
Yeah.
I think Tyrone, you had a question. He said, in Canada, I guess you read it, right? In Canada, racial relations are
Yeah.
way more in the
Seems to
background.
be.
Here, uh,
Yeah, I would
oh,
I would I would agree with that, and like I mean, there's different opinions of that because I can only go off of my experience. Somebody else with a different experience might totally disagree with me. But I do agree that it's more in the background here. It's definitely here, most definitely here. But I would agree that it's
yeah,
more in the background here, as in I find the racism here is more systemic in that like they won't necessarily say it to your face, but you are going to be discriminated, like especially in the industry I'm in, and the reason why a place like ACTRA, which is the performers union that I belong to and that I volunteer with, which is why they even have a council like diversity and inclusion, like, and so many other unions in the industry, like the directors union, the writers guild, they all have diversity and inclusion because the industry is fraught with racism. Like just turn on your TV, you probably have better representation with American TV than you do with Canadian TV. Canadian
I
TV is
always thought
extremely
that way.
white, extremely white. So yeah, I'd say our race relations are different in that I don't go around feeling my blackness everywhere I go, but I do see that we're not represented in the media very much. It's getting better, it is, because like I said, just but like getting better as in like it's taken way too long in that, but it is in baby steps, getting slowly better. There are a number of more Black writers being let in the door, if you will. And I hate to say that because people are like, create your own table, and I get that you do need
I
to do
was
that
going
to
to
a
get to
degree.
that.
You do to a degree, but you also need like the people. There's people who have a lot of money, and money will always control it. So you can say create your own table, but if the networks are all owned by, like, if I don't have the money to start a network, I've got to play the game that where the game exists. And right now, the game is led by white people. So we have to get them. We have to build allyship within some
So
systems
they
in order to gain any headway.
just gotta understand the talent and who they're dealing with, and the stars like yourself that can actually make them more money for them to really understand.
Oh yeah, yeah. They say the only color Hollywood sees is green, and that's true. They're like Hollywood's not actually racist; they just want money. But to be honest, I don't know if that's true because even after Black Panther sold down the house everywhere, and there were movies even before that that were Black movies only that still sold like crazy, and they still love to use the excuse that like, oh, we don't think this is sellable to put like a Black lead in there. It's like now you're just uncomfortable with a Black lead in this or that. Like you're just
Well,
uncomfortable with it.
I think some parties or whatever just assume certain roles for some people. That's what I assume. Uh,
Hmm.
but I mean, even based on Hollywood movies and so forth, we see it all the time. Now it's getting better. It's getting a lot better. I can
Hmm.
actually watch some movies and feel really good without seeing some black faces being look really silly, and not something that I really want to see. Um, we're
Oh
going to talk
yeah.
about we're going to talk about Hollywood. And is there any new stars that you are looking at right now? You say this is a hot new star, like
Oh
the
yeah.
passing of Black Panther, just
Oh man.
Chad Boswick.
Yeah.
Is there any new ones out there that you say, oh, this one's going to be pretty cool?
Yeah, no, there's quite a few. There's Stefan James. I don't know if it's Stefan or Stefan. I think it's maybe Stefan James. He's Canadian. Black man from Scarborough, I believe. And he's starred in If Beale Street Could Talk. He starred in a number of things, and he's just rising up the charts. And now him and his brother, who's also an actor doing really
Oh,
well,
wow.
Shamir Anderson, um they are starting a new Canadian-based Black Entertainment Awards show that is going to be launched. Like they just released, I did a press release about it recently, and I think they're looking for producers, and they already have the partnership with Insight Productions, which produces the Junos and Amazing Race Canada. So they've got a lot of support, and that comes with Stefan James's success in a lot of the movies. He did more than If Beale Street Could Talk. There's more, but I'm forgetting some of the
Was he the
titles.
one in there was like a police detective show that was based in Memphis or somewhere. I'm not might not be the right one, but there was a young black Canadian boy, a man that was in this show, and he was pretty good. I don't
It's
remember his name,
it's possible.
unfortunately.
He's been killing it all around, but he's yeah, I was gonna say he's one to watch, but he's already being watched. Like he's doing really, really well. So it's inspiring to see. And what I love to see about so many Canadian performers who do well, like as soon as they start doing well, they start leaning back so quickly. Like Toronto stars are the best for that. Like look at Drake. Like they become big and then they come back and collect like people in like their crew. Like I love to see that. Like so I
Yeah,
feel like
pretty
Stefan's one of the
awesome.
ones to do that. The actor who played Aladdin in the Will Smith version of Aladdin,
Hmm. Is he
Mahmoud.
Canadian?
He's Canadian as well.
Oh, wow.
I'm forgetting his first name, Mina Masood. Yeah, his name is Mina Masood.
Oh, wow, man.
And again, that was the first huge role that we've seen him in. And he already created like this huge organization for black Canadian not black, sorry, because he's not black, but for Canadian performers of color, Canadian performers of color to like
Now, now, come on now, what does he have to do to be black?
what does he have to do? Oh no, he's Indian. He's Indian. Yeah.
I'm, anyways, let's not talk about that stuff. Let's talk about the same Hollywood. And, you're saying like We need the guys with all the money and the big expensive cameras. Do you, in the industry that you're in, is it frowned upon when people with small, tiny little cell phone makes a movie and the story is really good, but they just kind of make it with cheap devices and stuff? Is how's that perceived?
It's not, unfortunately, like you've got to get production value matters. You can have a good story and you can do things for cheaper than millions of dollars, but you got to find a way to raise the money. Like there's to get at least good sound, and sound is expensive because I saw a quote and that's so true. I'm paraphrasing, but it was like an audience will forgive a sort of bad picture, but your senses will not forgive bad sound. Like we can't sit through something with bad sound. So like, and what I've learned from the few things that I've been producing, I've only just started producing last year. Sound folk are expensive individuals. So I'd say if you have a budget to invest in that more so than the picture, because you're totally right. Like we have seen some grainy things that are like indie films and they might be good. Like you might actually watch it still, but I guarantee you that sound was on point though. Like they weren't just using the mic on their phone. Even if they were using their phone, they weren't using the mic on their phone. They had a proper setup. So I'd say like you got to dig into funding bodies, and there's more and more funding bodies becoming available. There's like BIPOC Film and TV, which is an organization that is fairly new, but they're super well connected and they have programs. Tanya Williams has her Real World, where they do the Real World Film Festival that a lot of folks are familiar with. But even outside of just the festival, like she has so many like internships and mentorships and things that go on, like to help people who are filmmakers who maybe don't have access to money, crew, all that stuff, and mentorship. Like she really helps people do that. So I would say like yeah, like don't waste your story on getting it together just to get it shot and then not have it presented well, because then you're not going to get into film festivals, which is how things kind of gain any
Well,
buzz and like
you
whatever.
see, I thought it was just that simple. I thought like maybe me and my buddy we can get an iPhone or something, and we can just walk around and make take some shots
I
and do
mean,
some
anything is
scenes, and
possible.
you know.
Don't let anybody, even me, tell you you can't do something. You could do whatever you want, but because things are changing so fast and these phones are getting better and better. But I would just say, just from what I'm seeing on the production side, even from super low budget and indie, that there's still like there's still at least like you need like 10,000, 5,000 at least to make something that people will of a quality that people will watch. And only for your own sanity a lot of times too, because like there's so many
Well,
elements around production that like
I mean,
you don't
I
even want
totally
to.
agree with you. I totally agree with you because there's some movies, some movies we see in some other industries, and sometimes I try to watch them. I'm pretty sure they got great stories, but from the time I turn them on and start to watch, you can hear the sound is like really terrible. People are screaming and yelling all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but I am not
Totally.
going to mention because I don't want to defame or whatever
Yeah, I know.
other
So that
people
just
from
goes to
trying to
show
do
you
their
like
thing.
sound is like a big deal and it's expensive. Like it all costs like something. I also want to say thank you to Tyrone. I saw a few messages back. He said thank
Yeah.
you for like this conversation and making a difference. Oh, there you are. They were. Thank you so much for listening and for taking part. I could talk all day like about this stuff as you can see.
I mean, we love this, That's what I'm waiting for, right now. Like, I love it because to have someone like you who's not afraid to talk, someone like you who is just going to talk, someone's going to bless the stage and just shine without me having to really add too much to it. It's awesome. That's what we need. Is bright, shining people out there. Some people who we haven't seen yet, and they can do this. I'm pretty just need to bring your presence, up front and let people know who you are, and I'm pretty sure that you'll get seen.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
man. And I mean, again, we were really excited to have you. I'm sure Nadia is going to be talking to you a little bit more because she was like, Dman, can I? send Lisa Michelle a message also. I want to have a quick word with her also.
Oh,
So
I didn't
I'm
see
pretty
that.
sure she's gonna hit you up at some point.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Like I said, you can see clearly that I love talking. Steven Soderbergh shot a 91-minute film on iPhone 8 called High Flying Bird. There you go. See, but I want to know, did he use the sound on the phone? I don't know. I don't
Probably not.
I'm interested in looking it up because sound is a huge deal. I see
It
that
is a big deal.
y'all threw my ariesgarden.com up there, and just so people aren't like, what, how does that tie in? That's like my non-industry, non-acting, non-performance business that I started during the pandemic, which is like a spiritual self-care shop. It's something that and I mean a lot of people have found this during the pandemic, that
That's
whole
right.
other entrepreneurship interests that were maybe somewhere deep down or a little in your back pocket or in your front pocket, but had never manifested, rose up. So that's what Aries Garden was for me. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything really was shut down, even the film and TV industry for a hot second, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, and the world felt like crazy, crazy.
Didn't
Um,
it?
and yeah, I
It felt pretty
started.
crazy, huh?
Pardon?
Didn't it feel crazy for
Oh
a
my
second?
gosh, yes. In the beginning, like I mean, I haven't been clinically diagnosed with anxiety or anything like that, but I felt like whatever anxiety I had experienced before, it was through the roof at the top of the pandemic. Let's say like in the March times, I was just like really like nervous because they were making it sound like you're gonna start seeing your family drop like flies, like everybody's gonna die, like that's what, you can't go outside, the disease is on your window, like it sounded like madness, like, and so
It was just like that.
it sounded like a horror movie, and I was just like, what is going to happen? So what I found for me was that like really grounding and really kept my simultaneously grounding and keeping my head above water was connecting to spirituality. So I grew up Christian and I still hold elements of that, but I'm also like, I guess you would say, opened up to more things. I connect with my ancestors, I connect with spirit guides, and I love cleansing with like incense and sage. And these are things that even my Christian parents did as well, like incense, every now and then when you needed to burn out the house and things like that, and Florida water on your chest when you're sick, and bay rum, and these kinds of things, like tangible
Did you walk?
tools.
Did you walk in through the like walk in the house after a certain time backwards or something like that? Was that one of the things that you did, did also?
I I didn't do it, but I've heard of it. I've certainly heard of it. But I felt like it was that, and the Book of Psalms or whatever, like these sorts of things like kept me like really grounded and like kept me centered and like kept me from spiraling mentally to think like the world is going to end, and it kept me like grounded, like to be like, hey, right now, right in this moment, everything's good. Your family's good. You have enough food to eat. Lights are on. You're warm. You got clothes. So I'm like, at the end of the day, there might be a lot of things going on, but like stay in the moment. Like everything's good. And I found that like, even though you don't need tangible tools to do that, like that certainly helped me. Like it helped me focus. It helped my mind focus. So then Aries Garden was born out of me buying all of those things that I used, like the Book of Psalms and like the incense and the sage and all that stuff to like help me meditate and like focus and grounded. So I'm like, well, I buy so much of the stuff, I should sell it. And then that's then that's what I
There you
did.
go.
and then
There
and
you
then
go.
I'm
You
like, I
gotta
can't
do
be the
that. Aries
yeah,
Garden, people.
there
Don't
you
forget that.
go. There you go. So I'm still doing, so now that I'm acting a whole lot as well, I'm still doing that simultaneously. So now I'm just really busy because like the store has been doing well, growing, getting better each time. It's not huge right now, but it's definitely moving forward. So I'm working that simultaneously, auditioning, acting, mommying, wifing, all of those good
Hey,
things.
you know what? You know what?
Hmm.
For people like yourself, I find that like my wife, she's also an entrepreneur, and I find that the energy that you guys build just from seeing potential of something, you guys like you just like have this energy that is so encouraging, and you guys do it with a smile. You're not doing it angrily all the time, right? And it's really awesome to see. It's awesome to watch.
Oh, well,
I mean,
thank
like
you.
just like your husband Kirk. Like, I'm in a home with the two females, and trust me, I've been I've been tamed, in a sense.
I know exactly what you mean. Because I mean, me and my daughter, we are high energy, high emotion, loud, all of the things that my
Sounds
husband is not.
familiar.
So the quarantine has been particularly fun for him, I think. Being trapped in a house with these two big personalities. We joke that after this pandemic, we're going to allow each other 72 hours to just disappear and you don't have to say where you are. Just you can just go wherever and come back after 3 days.
Maybe me and him can share some stories afterwards. Maybe we have either a coffee or whatever beverage he prefers.
I think so.
Now I know some of the viewers. Maybe I know we only got you for like 15 more minutes, uh, but I know that you sing, and is there any way you can sing a little bit of something,
Of
just so people know
something.
she's not faking it?
Well, I might be now. Um, what can I sing? Oh man. It was just Valentine's Day, so maybe a love song. Yeah.
That'll be cool. Yeah, why
I
not?
didn't even bring any water. Okay, love. There's so many things I got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. 'Cause there's a possibility that you look at me differently, love. Ever since the first moment I spoke your name, from then on I knew that by you being in my life, things were destined to change. 'Cause love, so many people use your name in vain. Love. That's all we got for now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's pretty awesome. Thank you,
Thanks.
by the
Super
way.
rough
Thank
and
you.
off the cuff, not planned.
Hey, I completely understand. Usually I'll sing a little something too, but tonight I'll keep it quiet.
You keep it quiet tonight. Hilarious.
Hey, look, I just want to say, look, 2020 was my first guest of the show ever. He said 2020 was the perfect vision, and that's what 2020 was. So 2020, what it did was it opened up a lot of people's eyes, and it kind of brought things down to a point where people had to really look at themselves hard in the mirror and say, look, am I going to continue or am I going to do something different? So
Hmm.
I think, like for me, myself, doing this is pretty new. I've always stayed in the background, and I've helped people do things, and people were like, "You can do this." I'm like, I don't know. I'm more of a background kind of person, so I
And
decided just to jump right in and test it out, and
I love
it's
seeing
pretty
that
awesome, you know.
because when Kirk told me you had this podcast and that you were interested in interviewing me, I'm like, Derek has a podcast. Like I see you very similar to how I see Kirk, and that like you're both like definitely outgoing people when you know them, but like overall pretty quiet. So I was really intrigued with the
Hey,
fact that you
look,
had a
let me tell
podcast.
you, like persons like myself and Kirk, we do our thing, and you probably never heard, or I'm not sure if you were there, but I think Kurt did that whole thing at the bar. Was it the old dirty bastard verse when after having a few drinks, but it was pretty shocking for some people, but he did that. I'm not sure if you were aware of that,
I
but
think you told me that story. I was not there.
you got
You
what
got
I
what I
need
need.
in
Yes,
you. So,
he did tell me.
sometimes it
Actually,
takes
we
a
just
few
talked
things.
about that the other day.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So again, I just want to thank you first of all. Thank you for doing this with us.
Thanks for having
Uh,
me. This is fun.
it was it was our pleasure, and um, I can't wait for another time. And maybe when you bring your daughter on, or see your daughter blow up into a big star.
Oh,
Uh,
you will if she wants
who
to.
knows?
We'll see.
And I'll be watching out and keeping my eyes and see some of the stuff that you're doing. I hope that things will get better within the industry in terms of with the pandemic, kind of erasing a little bit, and
Hmm.
ease some restrictions so that more people diverse can come and do their thing, instruct their stuff. That'll be pretty awesome to see.
Yep.
Because I saw you on a what was it, a podcast with was another young lady, and you guys were talking about um, all that stuff, and the color and race and all that stuff, and the diversity in the acting world. And I just wanted, if you could talk a little bit more about that stuff while you have the stage here with us. I know you're behind the scenes now producing also, and if you got anything else you want to add before we, call it quits for
Close
the
out.
night.
Sure. Well, one of the many things I do outside of acting, but still in the industry, is with ACTRA, and ACTRA is the Performers Union for Canadian Performers. So it's like a lot of folks, even Canadians, are more familiar with SAG. So ACTRA is the Canadian SAG. So I'm an elected Toronto and national councillor, and I'm also co-chair of their diversity and inclusion committee. They just won't let me go. I'm just,
Yeah.
and I fill every volunteer seat there. But I do enjoy it because a lot of what I do, especially as a co-chair of the diversity and inclusion committee, is we and my co-chair are responsible for creating and facilitating different kinds of initiatives, events that put performers, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and people who fall into other diverse categories who are also underrepresented, and centering them and getting them either more professional experience, so connecting them with like coaches and getting like discounted or free workshops or presentations, and putting them in front of casting directors to be like, hey, you haven't seen these people, check out this initiative where you can hear them read these scripts or see them do these self tapes. And so we do a bunch of different things that are solely for those in the diverse community, and that includes, like I said, physical diversity, gender diversity. There's so many different umbrellas, but the committee essentially takes care of it all with the help of staff and stuff like that. And I saw a question earlier that asked if ACTRA just started that committee since George Floyd, and I'll say no, they've had this committee for years, and it started with a couple women, but one woman named Sandy Ross, who passed away in 2018, I believe. But she was ACTRA Toronto's first Black president and the first female president. And since her, there's only been one other female president, and there has not been another Black president yet since. But she was like president back in the 90s or whatever, and she started the first like diversity actors database, because a lot of Americans were coming up, bringing all their American performers and not casting Black or any people of color really, and just using the excuse like, oh, we couldn't find the qualified people that we're looking for. So she's like, not true, that can't be true. And like my living room of friends, there's enough talent in here to do whatever. So she went around, and this was like before, like now ACTRA has like a digital actor database for all the diverse members who self-identify. Some people don't want to be identified that way, but that's
Right.
fine. But before, when she was doing this, Sandy Ross, back in the 90s, it was called Into the Mainstream, and she put together like a hard copy book, collected headshots and resumes of every Black and person of color she could find who was an ACTRA member, put them together in this big book, and would drive herself to different casting directors to be like, look at at these performers, like, don't tell me that we don't have like Black performers here in
We're
Toronto and
here.
things like that. Like yeah, we're here, and she was doing that from time. So I'd say, so she started that off with another woman named Rita Deverell. But I say all that to say is like, no, like the one thing, or one of many things, but that I'm really proud of, and why I don't mind as much time that I give ACTRA on a volunteer basis, is because they weren't just one of those companies in the industry or in any industry who put out a statement of, we are, all about anti-Black we're all against anti-black racism and we're going to commit to this and yada yada yada, and we've seen so many companies do that, but they're really not doing anything internally. Thankfully, Actra is not one of those companies. It's not to say that they're perfect. Everybody has something that they can do better, but they've been at this advocacy for equal representation, fair representation, diverse representation on film and TV for like decades, and they've had so many really strong advocates and other co-chairs like way before me. The thing is, why it might seem like how could they have had this committee and these advocates for so many years, and yet we still see like white TV shows, is because actors are not the most powerful people in the industry. We're like probably the least because we rely on everybody else for work. We need like producers have to hire us, casting directors, like directors, like actors are the group of people who are waiting for work. It's not to say that everybody else has it easy. I don't envy directors and casting directors. Everybody has their plate. But when it's all said and done, actors are the last to be hired on a production. So even though we have, and even industry-wide, ACTRA is known as like, oh, we've got the diversity advocacy stuff on lock. Like they see that ACTRA spends lots of money on it. And I'll say since George Floyd's murder, we've been able to press ACTRA even more, like as co-chairs of the committee for like more money and more resources. And they answered, like they really heard us and they gave us everything we needed. I cannot lie. I cannot sit here and lie to you. I'm not going to say it's easy. Can't say that I haven't had my arguments, because like being a part of any organization is like stressful, right?
Lisa Michelle.
Yeah.
So Lisa Michelle, she's an actor, she's a singer, she's a producer. Aries Garden.
So much. I'm tired of just listening to you.
You're not tired, because if you were tired, you would have a frown on your face and you'd be like, oh, I'm tired. You're not tired.
So funny.
No. What's next for Lisa Michelle?
What's next? Well, if you want to see something fun and entertaining, on Saturday, February 20th, there's a movie on Lifetime, for folks who get Lifetime, called Galentine's Day Nightmare. So it came out on Valentine's Day, but they're rerunning it because that's what Lifetime does. And I play Detective Bailey. So it's a significant role in this TV film. Yeah, so it's like a thriller murder mystery, and it's like your typical Lifetime movie. If you've ever seen like a movie on Lifetime or TV movie.
What's the name of that movie again?
Galentine's Day Nightmare. So there's a term that I
Nadia to put it to get it up there.
Sure, I'll write it in this chat, and if you can put it in the big Valentine's Day Nightmare.
And that's is there a specific time that it airs or?
Yeah, it's at 8:00. And like I said, I play Detective Bailey, so it's like one of those. It's a TV movie, like it's a thriller, but like you could probably guess some of the things that are going to happen. But it's a lot of fun to watch, and I love the role that I get to play in, and I'm the one who catches the bad guy. Sorry to give it away, but
I got a few more minutes with you, but I just want to now. Are you one of those actors that when you see yourself on the screen that you're very like you can do better, or like how do you view yourself when you're watching?
I feel more like that about my singing, to be honest. That like after I do a performance of any kind, I don't want to see it. And I think that has a lot to do with, because like I said, not what I did just there on the call, but like when I'm like on stage performing, it's often, I swear, like half an out of body experience. So there was so much energy involved that like I was only half there. So I don't want to see it afterwards because it doesn't affect me the same. And then now, while I was enjoying it in the moment, if I'm watching it after and I'm not feeling the same vibes, because now I'm just chilling. I'm just like watching it. Now I'm going to nitpick all the things that didn't bother me while I was on stage, but now I'm going to be like, oh, like that was a little flat, or oh, like why did I look like that? Oh, I really have an ugly singing face, and like I'm going to pull it apart for like silly reasons, so I don't like doing that. But as an actor, I gotta say, I'm more forgiving of myself, and I'm more interested in I guess because I'm not playing myself, so I'm less judgmental of myself because it's not really about me. I guess maybe that's why. But I really am watching it from, am I playing the character? And I'll only criticize myself if I felt like, oh, that wasn't really in character. And then like but that's about it. But I'm nicer to myself when it comes to acting. Yeah.
And I guess that was shot here too as well in Toronto.
Galentine's Day Nightmare. Yeah, it was shot in Ottawa.
Oh, in Ottawa. Okay, that's
Yeah,
pretty
because that's
cool.
this was in September. We shot Galentine's Day Nightmare, so Toronto was still heavily locked down. So
Oh yeah,
they were shooting everywhere but Toronto. So all the movies I shot movies in Ottawa, I shot movies in North Bay. They were just doing everything that they could in Hamilton. They were doing everything they could outside of the main core because they were still allowed to there. Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Hmm.
So there you have it, people. Lisa Michelle, I want to say, is there anything else you want to plug before we go? Because you know what, it's been a pleasure of mine personally to have someone like you on the show.
Thanks
Uh,
so much.
Even when I asked you, you didn't hesitate at all. You was just like,
No.
yes.
I'm still amazed that anybody wants to talk to me. I'm always like, yeah, sure. As
Hey,
long as
don't
I
be
have the
surprised.
time.
Embrace it. You gotta embrace it. Embrace it. Don't be shy now. You're there. And there'll be that point where I tell my grandkids or whatever. I used to know this young lady, Lisa Michelle, and
Aw,
and
you,
she has a
you'll
big
always
shot
know.
a big shot husband and a little girl, and so I used to
I
know
love
those
it.
people.
I used to. You'll still know us. We might live on a castle on a hill, but you'll still know us. I
Listen,
love it. If I
well,
were to,
again, so go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say if I was gonna plug anything else. So because I'm tireless, another company that I have a joint venture with a friend of mine is called Orange Moon Entertainment. You all flashed the link up there before. Thank you. So that was a live entertainment company that I had. So we would put on shows, much like the one that you saw eons ago. But it was always covering R&B, live, and jazz tribute shows to like. So we would do like a Jill Scott, Erica Badu tribute show, or like a D'Angelo tribute show, whatever the case may be, or just general neo soul. But if in this time, while we can't have live shows, we're trying to get creative with what we could do virtually. So what we've done is everyone's seen Canva, not Canva, sorry. What is that? I forget what it's called, but where you can ask for us, pay a certain amount of money for a celebrity to do a shout out to somebody else. I'm forgetting the
Oh,
name
okay.
of it, but it's like a virtual greeting card essentially. But what Orange Moon Entertainment does is it's a virtual greeting card, but it's sung. So it's like a singing telegram that you can like buy from orangemoonentertainment.com called holograms. So you can send a hologram to someone. So we did some for like Valentine's Day, but it could be for like any occasion. You could send one for somebody's birthday, and our roster of singers, we have 4 singers right now, will like make a self tape looking much like the one that you would see me on screen the way you're seeing me now. So it's just like as casual as like a telegram would be as this conversation, but we dedicate it to whoever the person wants to reach out to. Be like, hey, Derek wants to tell you happy birthday, Nadia, and here it is. And then I would sing, not necessarily happy birthday, but it could be just a song that you wanted to dedicate to whoever. So that's something we have going on until we can get our live shows going again.
You know
Uh,
what?
mhm.
When this pandemic is over, or if you decide to do a jazz show, I
Mhm.
want you to hit us up because my wife and I we've been trying to get to a jazz show for a long time,
Oh
and two
man.
times we got messed up. But when if you ever decide to do that, let us know. We'll be very grateful for that. We just got to make arrangements so we can have a babysitter and we can get we
How
can.
old is yours now?
She's 6. She's 6.
Oh. Oh, I didn't realize they
6
were so
going on
close in
12.
age. I know the feeling. I didn't realize our kids were so close in age. Okay.
Yes, that's right. That's
Nice.
right.
But yes, I
So
will keep you posted.
yes, that's right. So there you have it, people. The one and only, the amazing, talented, and beautiful Lisa Michelle. Such a bright spirit and a lovely person indeed. So
Thank you.
before you go, say hello to your sister Dion for me.
I will. I will. I will.
Yes, blessings.
As I
Yes.
forgot you knew her
The,
too. You know my whole
the,
family.
Dion is a very, very beautiful person with such a like someone who's just a joy to be around. So I
She's
hope
as
that the kid does still, she still has that because children can make people shape them differently, right? So,
yeah. Oh, she's still as loud and as vibrant as I am.
yes.
We're definitely related.
But yeah, so thank you again for on the show and
Thank
for
you for
coming on the
having
show.
me. Honestly, thank you.
Blessings to you, and I wish you all the best for you and your family. All right,
Thank you. Thank you to you and yours as well.
that's right. There you have it, people. The one and only Lisa Michelle. Um, yes, so it's such a joy to have that young lady on the show, and I'm hoping that she do even bigger things and make it the way how we imagine that she will make it, because she's such a talented person. Uh, really, really awesome. Really, really awesome. Um, so to next week show, we're gonna shift gears a little bit, still in the entertainment world, and we're gonna bring the one and only Easy B from Barbados, man. Change it up a little bit. He's an entertainer, and y'all know a little bit about him. Just do some research, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he's another talented brother, and I'm sure that he's gonna bring all his stories and all his talent to this show as well. Um, sky's the limit. For all these stars out there, we hope that things continue to brighten up. Restrictions are easing up, and people could get their lives back together. Because for all these entrepreneurs out there, they're depending on you. They're depending on me. They're depending on the industry. They're depending on this pandemic to be over, and we want people not to dismiss the deaths of all these people who have passed through 2020, and 2021 just started, but we've had quite a few as well, going from this vicious disease called COVID-19. Uh, so so there you have it, guys. Next week, my man Easy B, and we'll kick it off. We'll take it from there. He's going to share his stories, and he's going to tell you a lot more. Uh, so in the meantime, I just want to thank you guys for joining us tonight, and I hope to see you next week. Tell a friend, tell a few friends, and let's do this once again. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Good night and peace.